Greetings, loved ones. How often do you hear a story about someone bringing horrible suffering into the lives of others? Or perhaps you think about the person who brought so much trauma into your own life. The natural human response to such horror is to wonder, how can anyone do such things? Sex offenders can look into the faces of their victims and dominate their will and individuality. Today, we're going to share 6 telltale signs of a predator. This is really important, so please help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button, notification bell, and share these messages with others. You could save a life. Psalm 55, verses 20 to 21 says, "My companion attacks his friends. He violates his covenant. His talk is smooth as butter, yet war is in his heart. His words are more soothing than oil, yet they are drawn swords." Again, I'm going to ask you, how often do you hear a story about someone bringing horrible suffering into the lives of others? We see it on the news every day. Or perhaps you think about the person who brought so much trauma into your own life. And we ask ourselves the question, how can anyone do such things? And again, I'm going to say, sex offenders can look into the faces of their victims and dominate their will and their individuality. The offenders are not harmed by the effects of their behavior because they carry a dark entitlement to rule another person. Sex offenders believe that you, the victim, cannot fight, that you don't know the difference between your person and their need to dominate you. And sociopaths seek out different types of targets, from infants to children to adolescents to adults. The predator could be someone who assaults his date, his spouse, his coworker, neighbors, or a younger person he has authority over as a coach, a priest, a youth pastor, teacher, or professor. So let's talk about 6 signs of a sexual predator. And the most important thing for sexual predators is to act coercively, persuasively, and out of the range of an observer. And they do this because they are addicted to being predators. This is a demonic activity. If they're caught, they can't keep victimizing. So they're going to target the unsuspecting, untrained people who need them in some manner for grades, for coaching, playing time, for a potential job or promotion, family unity, financial stability, or even for community acceptance. Unfortunately, people who prey on others look and act like everyone else. In fact, they often go out of their way to appear trustworthy, to gain access to those they seek to victimize. So, let's take a deep breath, open our minds, and allow ourselves to accept that there are people who truly think and act this way. There are people that we or our families and social groups trust or have trusted. You're not alone. And this is your opportunity to be, as Matthew 10:16 says, wise as a serpent, which means grasp the cunning of the predator, and gentle as a dove, live directed by the Spirit. So what are the 6 telltale signs of a sexual predator? Number 1, sexual predators set the trap for their targeted victims by reassuring them that they are indispensable in meeting their needs. They volunteer their services and time. They see you as a special, gifted, talented, and worthy of their one-on-one attention. The attention they give you is swift, generous, flattering, and constant. And then there's an expectation of secrecy, which is rewarded with gifts and privileges, along with threats that telling would result in injury for those involved or those who know is introduced in this point. And this is also where sexual contact often begins. Number 2, sexual predators isolate you by convincing you that others are not as for you as they are. You might hear one of them say, "Do you see how your family doesn't really celebrate your accomplishments? You deserve so much more." Or they say, "Did you see how your friend left early and didn't even make you a priority when you were talking with her?" Number 3, sexual predators feel entitled to you. Often asking the person they're targeting for favors or developing a quid pro quo. They'll say, "I helped you with your paper. Now you need to give me your time on Friday night." These are expectations that are not arranged in advance, but instead are sprung on the person who is positioned to feel guilty for saying no. And I'm going to insert here, never feel guilty for saying no. You have permission and freedom to say no to anything you don't want to do, any touch that makes you uncomfortable, any action that makes you uncomfortable, or anything people might want to put on your life that could endanger you. You have the permission to say no. Number 4, sexual predators will set up a double standard. For instance, you can't be late, but they can. You can't spend past the budget, but they can. They need you to be friendly and welcome them home at the end of the day, but then they can be withdrawn, moody, and unavailable. You can't need a break from sex, but they can demand it from you. You can't have a life outside of them, but they can do as they please with their time, interests, and activities. They will crowd out your legitimate wants and needs to the point where there is room only for him, and you will begin to not exist. Number 5, another top priority of sexual predators is to create Stockholm Syndrome in their targets. This is a sympathetic play on the target's compassion and pity. When you don't do his bidding, i.e. by making him your top priority, he will sulk, stalk you, harass you through social media, or even threaten suicide. He may say you're rejecting him like everyone else in his life. But a violator, once caught, has confessed to researchers, psychologists, and officers at the court that his favorite part of violating you was getting you to feel sorry for him. If you take pity on a person who has major character flaws, he will use your pity to trespass all over you, your values, all over your priorities, and all over your other relationships. Number 6, he lies about big things and insignificant things. So anything from what he picked up at the grocery store to his grade point average in school to the sport he played where he was after work, the best wisdom here says after the person has lied to you 3 times, move on. Over time, the lies will become more costly and damaging. So protect yourself from more serious violations by reading the signs early and accurately. Take the decisive action that is needed to remove yourself from a suspect relationship. And remember that true love looks out for our long-term best interests, has our back, and gives us the benefit of the doubt. Love has nothing to do with control, subjugation, or fear of reprisal. I hope this has helped you. According to the CDC, over half of all children in the world, remember that's 1 billion children ages 2 to 17, experience violence every year. So the question is not if you will encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. Micah 6:8 says, he has showed you, O man, what is good. What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. You are called. We are all called to be champions for justice. There is a way out. It is not your fault. Abuse is not love. And most of all, I want you to know you are not alone. If you are suffering violence, reach out to someone today. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, call 911 for help. If you know of a child or other person suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we will talk about 5 characteristics of a child sexual predator. We really want you to learn this so that you can protect yourself, protect your children, protect other children, recognize other children who are in danger and help them. Until then, God bless you.